Stop right there." The piercing scream echoed through the quiet suburban street. At first, neighbors thought it was just another petty HOA argument. But what they didn't expect was to see Karen, the infamous HOA president, standing on the sidewalk, clutching a can of pepper spray, and pointing it at Angela Robinson, a black woman who had just stepped out of her car. Angela had only wanted to bring in her groceries. She wasn't loud. She wasn't disruptive. She wasn't breaking any rules. But to Karen, none of that mattered. She saw Angela as an intruder, someone who didn't belong in her neighborhood. And within seconds, Karen did the unthinkable. She pepper-sprayed Angela in the face. Angela screamed in pain, clutching her eyes as the burning chemicals tore through them. Groceries spilled across the driveway. Neighbors gasped, some frozen, others pulling out phones to record. But what Karen didn't know, what she couldn't even imagine, was that Angela's husband wasn't just another resident. He was Lieutenant Marcus Robinson, a decorated Army officer, a man who had led soldiers into war zones, defended his country with honor, and lived his entire life by discipline, loyalty, and service. And that night, Karen was about to learn a lesson she'd never forget. Angela and Marcus had moved into the neighborhood just 3 months earlier. For them, it was supposed to be a fresh start. Marcus had been deployed overseas for years, and now that he was home, all he wanted was a safe, peaceful place where his wife could thrive and where he could finally rest between assignments. They bought a modest house. Nothing fancy, just a warm, welcoming home near the lake. Marcus spent weekends fixing the yard, while Angela loved gardening and chatting with friendly neighbors. But not everyone was friendly. From day one, Karen had her eyes on them. As president of the HOA, she acted like she owned the entire community. She nitpicked Angela's flowers, complained about Marcus's army truck being too big, and even made remarks about whether they could really afford to live there. Angela brushed it off at first. "She's just miserable," she told Marcus. "If we ignore her, she'll get bored." But Karen wasn't bored. She was obsessed. That evening, Angela returned home from shopping. It was just after sunset, and the neighborhood was quiet. She parked in her driveway, popped open her trunk, and started unloading bags of groceries. Then came the sound of heels clicking on the pavement. Karen marched down the sidewalk, phone in one hand, pepper spray in the other. "You don't belong here after dark," Karen sneered. "This neighborhood has rules, and I'm not letting some outsider sneak around." Angela blinked in confusion. "What are you talking about? This is my house. I live here." But Karen wasn't listening. Her voice got louder, her words sharper. "Don't play games with me. I know people like you. You sneak in, cause trouble, and think we won't notice. Not on my watch." Before Angela could even react, Karen raised her hand and sprayed. The burning liquid hit Angela's eyes. She dropped her bags, stumbling backward, crying out in pain. "Ah, my eyes. What is wrong with you?" Neighbors came rushing out. Someone shouted, "Karen, what are you doing?" Another yelled, "Call 911." But Karen wasn't worried. In fact, she smirked. "Go ahead. Call the cops. They'll thank me for stopping a criminal." She had no idea how wrong she was. When Marcus returned home minutes later, he found chaos on his driveway. Neighbors gathered in shock, Angela clutching her face, and Karen standing there like she had just won a trophy. Marcus dropped everything and rushed to his wife. "Angela, baby, what happened?" She sprayed me," Angela sobbed. "For no reason." Marcus's blood boiled. His military training had taught him to control his temper, but seeing his wife in pain broke something inside him. He turned to Karen, his voice low and steady, the kind of tone soldiers know means danger. "You pepper-sprayed my wife on her own property?" Karen folded her arms, trying to look tough. "She doesn't belong here. I was protecting the neighborhood. If you people think you can just..." But before she could finish, flashing lights lit up the street. 2 squad cars pulled in. Officers stepped out. And just like that, the crowd fell silent. Karen smirked. "Good. The police are here. Now you're both going to jail." But what Karen didn't realize was that one of those officers wasn't just a cop. He was a close friend of Marcus from the Army Reserves. As soon as the officer saw Marcus, he straightened up and saluted. "Lieutenant Robinson, sir." Karen's smirk vanished. Lieutenant? What?" The officer quickly assessed the situation, then turned to Karen. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for assault." Karen's jaw dropped. "What?"
No.
"She was trespassing. I was defending myself." But the neighbors stepped forward one by one. "She wasn't trespassing. This is her house. We saw the whole thing. Angela didn't do anything. She just attacked her." The evidence was undeniable. Videos from phones showed Karen spraying Angela unprovoked. Witnesses confirmed it. And Marcus? He didn't even raise his voice. He simply stood tall, his hand resting on Angela's shoulder, his presence commanding respect. "Karen," he said quietly, "you think a clipboard and a spray can make you powerful. But real power, real strength, it's protecting people, not hurting them. And tonight, you failed." Karen was handcuffed right there in front of the entire neighborhood. As she was led to the squad car, she screamed, "You can't do this. I'm the HOA president. I make the rules." But no one listened. The officers drove her away, and the neighbors who once feared her began clapping. For the first time, they weren't afraid of Karen anymore. They were free from her reign of terror. Angela was taken to the hospital, where doctors treated her eyes. Thankfully, no permanent damage was done. And Marcus? He stayed by her side the entire night, holding her hand, reminding her that she wasn't alone. Within weeks, the HOA board voted Karen out as president. Without her, the neighborhood finally became the peaceful, welcoming place it was meant to be. And as for Marcus and Angela, they stayed. They refused to be driven out by hate, because their roots were stronger than Karen's cruelty. So, what's the lesson here? It's simple. Don't mistake cruelty for power. Karen thought being HOA president gave her control. She thought waving around pepper spray made her strong. She thought lies, intimidation, and fear could silence people. But she was wrong. Because real power doesn't come from hurting others. It doesn't come from shouting the loudest, or forcing people to bow down. Real power comes from discipline, from integrity, from protecting others, not tearing them down. Angela didn't need to fight back with fists. She didn't need to scream or threaten. She didn't need to lower herself to Karen's level. Because she had something much greater on her side, the truth. And truth has a way of cutting through lies.